When working with JSON or with objects, it's quite common to want to find out what properties are there on an object, or to do certain functions like cloning an object. So to be able to do more interesting operations on objects, the browser has a built-in feature that is a object class. So if you go to the browser and just say object dot, you can see that there is a whole bunch of functions on this object class that gets shipped default in the browser. One of the most common things that you want to be able to do is to try and figure out what properties is actually on an object currently. So to get that, you can use object.keys. Because an object works the same way as what the dictionary does, keys in this sense actually means the properties on an object. So if I send in an object here, so there's an empty object and I have a first name, and we'll give it a name. You can see at the bottom that it's going to give me first name, so let's add last name. Okay, so object.keys, you can see, so here's the object that I'm defining. It's going to give me the property names that's on this object. Note that the property names is returned to me as an array, so it's easy for me to loop through those objects and to be able to work with it. Another common operation is to try and clone an object, right? So if we go here, we'll just quickly create an object. So const obj equals, we'll add a person object on here as well. First name is John, last name is Doe. So here's an object, and I want to create a clone of this object. So I just want to make a copy with it so I can go and do stuff to the clone without affecting the original object. So to clone the object, I can then just say, let's say I've got a const obj2, which is an empty object. So I want to copy all the properties from this object and place them on this object whilst leaving the original object intact. So I can say object.assign the object that I want to assign the items to. In other words, the target is obj2, and the place where I'm going to copy the properties from is obj, and then I'm just going to say console.log obj2. So if everything worked fine, then obj2 should look like obj1. So I can now go to the browser and just do refresh, and there you go. obj2 looks the same way as obj1. So do I always have to start with an empty object? No, you don't have to. I can create a more complex object by assigning the properties. So let's say I already have a property in here, so I'll say address is equal to, and then I have some address data in obj2. When I assign obj1 over to obj2, you'll see that my address information is still there. So the target object doesn't get created from scratch. The target object stays what it is, but it gets added to the properties from the source. So in this way I can have one object and another object and create a more complex object by combining the two using object.assign. So a good place to go and play and to study is just to go and have a look at the object documentation, and you'll see there's a whole bunch of stuff here. So looping through with the entries, freezing objects we'll deal with in a different video, asking certain questions around the object, getting the keys for the object, etc., etc. However, the most used functions on object would be object.keys, where you get the property names, and object.assign, where you add properties from one object onto another object. So I would say these two are functions that you should know quite well. Thank you.